I'm Dana, and I'm really sorry to be posting these travel vlogs so incredibly out of order. This obviously isn't a travel vlog, but this video is going to be a bit rambly and junky because I got on a plane at 8 p.m. in LA on the 2nd of April, and it's currently Thursday the 4th of April at 1 a.m. and I slept for like 6 hours on the plane between them, and obviously there's some type of like wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff at work, but I don't understand it very well. So I'm a bit sleep deprived, and about an hour ago I had a sort of a miniature meltdown that I very much suppressed. I don't think I'm dealing with my emotions particularly well, so I'm a bit not on it, but I wanted to make a little video now about like the whole traveling thing as an autistic person, because I feel like if I leave it too long I'm gonna just sort of like glamorize it and rose tint it and, you know, see it. I very much like dissociate from bad things. If I don't enjoy it, if it makes me anxious, I just sort of like zone out of it and don't remember it that well, and it all goes fuzzy and blurry and I can just sort of forget about it. So I want to make this video before that happens, because I've had a hard time of some of it. I've had a really hard time of some of it. And it's one of those things where I'm very glad I did it. Like, some of it has been the absolute best times of my life. It has been absolutely incredible. And I'm so glad that I got the chance to do it. I'm like, it was the best, you know? But it was also like, even the good parts were like really just quite overwhelming and kind of a lot. And they were good, you know, I really massively enjoyed them. Like things like going to Universal and going to the Warner Brothers studio tour and just getting to like hang out in Arizona and go to malls and like just sort of like be there, you know. Like it was all really cool and really awesome, and I met the best, most amazing people I really adore. You know, it's been a really fantastic little time, but it's also just been a lot, you know. Like, as much as I love my best friend, I've been with them 24/7 for the last 3 weeks and 6 days, a little bit longer because of how travel works. I've become quite codependent, to be honest. I really fucking miss them. I keep getting these like big pangs of anxiety that I like don't know what they're up to or where they are, and they're not just there. Like, it's I really fucking miss them. It really sucks that 1 month being around someone that much I'm like, where are you, come back. Like, when I got home we talked on the phone for like 40 minutes because we were both just like, what do we do without each other now? What's this? And like the jump back to reality after it all is horrible. Like, I have just like, general life maintenance is so much, and I have so much of it not only to do in general but also now to catch up on, and it is again just so overwhelming, and I just want to ignore it and not do it, but I need to do it. I have to do it. It's my life, you know. It just, oh, it's all so much. One thing that I keep thinking about and that I feel really bad about is that there's moments that I snapped at my friend that I was travelling with, and like I don't feel like I was like a terrible person to them, and I have like to their face apologised and said sorry and explained that like it's not them, it's just that all of the waiting and all of like, even though you're on the plane and stuff, it's you're just waiting to get somewhere. All of travelling is just waiting, you know, like until you're on the actual trip, until you're doing the things that you're there for. All of it is just waiting and waiting and waiting. And especially because my friend's a wheelchair user and we then have to use the accessibility services, they are so frustrating, and you spend so much more time waiting and trying to get to places, and it's just a whole extra struggle that like, it's especially frustrating because it's one of those things where like, you're the accessibility services, you should be better at this. And it's again especially frustrating, like there's so many layers to it, because the staff is so freaking nice. Like, the staff are amazing, they're doing their jobs so well. It's just that the systems in place within their jobs that they don't have any decisions on aren't really doing all that well. Like, we had a really stressful time getting our connecting flight from Dublin to Manchester because we only had like an hour or so, and the way that a lot of the accessibility services work is that you're the first or last on the plane, and you're always the last person off. You have to just sit there and wait for everybody else to leave until you can get your stuff and get off. And sometimes it's a whole hoo-ha getting off as well. And then my friend has to set up their chair and make sure it hasn't been broken, and often it's had parts missing, it's had something taken down, it's had something loosened that it shouldn't have. You know, it's things like that just shouldn't be happening. And it's not that my friend is being a hassle, it's not their fault, they don't have any fucking say in this. It's that people aren't treating them like as accordingly as they should be, you know, like whatever systems are in place aren't good enough, and it's really annoying. and it adds to just the whole thing of like constantly feeling like I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. And especially as someone who like really struggles with social imagination, I'm like, I don't really have a grasp of what I'm waiting for, so it's just super fucking anxiety inducing. And it's one of those things where like, I'm with my absolute best friend in the world, you know, like my favourite person. If we're in like the little airport part and we're like looking around in the shops and be like, oh look how cute that is, oh look how funny this is, I can like somewhat turn it off. It's still there in the back of my mind, it's still a little anxious niggle, but it's not the forethought, you know? When we're just being taken through like back rooms and waiting at escalators and being told to go here, to go there, to go do this, to go do that, having to like argue with people and be like, no, the chair needs to come to the gate, my friend can't walk from the plane all the way to the baggage terminal and shit like that. It's just so much constantly, and it's just anxiety inducing, and it's so much to deal with, and it's absolutely exhausting. I want to eat my bit of chocolate, I'm sorry, I really need it. I think it's insane that you have to spend so much time in airports, and yet you do actually, like, at least we actually needed like all the time we were there, and sometimes we were there like 4 hours early, you know? So we did multiple flights, because we did from the UK to LAX, and then from LAX to Phoenix, and then drove from Phoenix to LA, and then flew back from LAX. So we had quite a few like flights, and we had connections within that as well, because we were flying Manchester to Dublin, Dublin to America. So yeah, we did quite a few like flights and connections and getting on and off, and it was just all so anxiety inducing and such a hassle. And especially because like bits have to come off my friend's chair, and like they have all sorts of like extra bits that they need to carry with them on top of their like luggage and the carry-ons and the personal item. So we're having to get on the plane quite often after everyone else is seated with all of this stuff. It looks like we are carrying like way more than someone should be, you know? It's so anxiety inducing all the time, and it just doesn't need to be. It's so much extra stress and hassle, and I hate it. But all that being said, as much as I'm whinging and moaning about it, it was, like I think I hope I said, it was a truly brilliant, incredible trip that I am so glad that I got to go on. And I'm especially so glad that I got to go with my friend, because as much as I found it like really fucking horrible, I hated every second of the actual travel of it. You know, there's no one else that I would rather do it with. They make me feel so much more comfortable and safe than I would be doing it with anybody else in the world, or doing it alone or anything like that. Like, I really could not have done any of this without them at all, and I'm so grateful and thankful, and I adore them, and it's just been such a great time in so many ways. And on the video that I made about like my concerns before flying, because like I have flown a couple of times before, but it was all before I knew that I was autistic. For once, it was a different experience, and most of it was when I was still like quite a young kid, and I don't really remember it all that much. So I did make that whole video that you can go and watch if you want to, I don't know. And a lot of people said that like they just don't travel anymore because of how horrible the like actual act of traveling is. And it's one of those things that I understand, I respect that you're allowed to have that view. I'm not I wouldn't, I maybe am trying to change your opinion, but I also respect that it's your opinion, and it's your life. You should do what you like to do and make yourself happy. It's not up to me. But I do also think that traveling and getting to see new places and just like learn about new things and experience new things is really not necessarily important, but I do think it helps you to like develop as a person and grow a bit as a person. And it's, I suppose mostly it's just something that I really enjoy. You know, it's not something you have to enjoy. We all enjoy different things. But I love it so much that I kind of just struggle to wrap my head around why anybody wouldn't put themselves to the absolute hell of actually travelling in order to get to see new things and experience new things and meet new people and just have a really nice little time. And yeah, but I also am very like, you know, I wouldn't have done this a couple of years ago with like one of my exes. Like the one time that I did travel with an ex, we weren't really his parents, and it was still a bit of a nightmare, and I still had a massive meltdown before I even knew I was autistic, and it was horrible and really embarrassing. Like, I have my one other absolute best friend that I reckon I could travel with and not be like too bad, but like this was definitely, you know, this is the person that I was destined to travel with if I want to have the best time that I can. I will also say as well, like I said about like, I know I said about the accessibility staff being really great, but honestly, all of the staff that I came across in airports were really good. And I was quite scared because quite a few people mentioned that like TSA specifically, which they're like the security of America or something, right? Like they are American specific, I think. But a few people have mentioned the TSA specifically are quite like aggressive and really scary, and gave them meltdowns, and like they had a really negative experience with them. And I will say that my experience was really, really good. And like not really, really good necessarily, but like it was pleasant. Everyone was nice enough. No one was like especially horrible. I didn't have a bad experience with any of the staff. Some of them were especially lovely even. And obviously some of that is that I am travelling with someone that's in a wheelchair. That does change the way that people tend to treat you and the way people behave a little bit. And it is a bit weird that they're like that, but also when you're travelling and you're really anxious and it's a horrible time, it's nice to have people be a little bit extra nice sometimes. My friend mostly does the talking for me. They handled my passport, they had the boarding passes, like they did the stuff. I just sort of stood there and looked where I was supposed to and stood where I was supposed to and occasionally said, yes, that's me, or hey, sorry, what do I do with this light, or whatever, you know. Like I didn't really speak to anyone all that much, but when I did, they were nice. I do think that's also though that I like excessively like check over the rules and check what you're allowed to bring and check how you're supposed to pack things and make sure that my luggage is the right weight and make sure those things are the right size. Like I'm really, really obsessive over trying to make sure that nothing will go wrong so that I don't have any sort of negative experience, because it would just absolutely send me, and I honestly don't know what I would do. Like I would probably need to be like escorted out to a private area in order to like calm down with my friend or something. Like it would be a nightmare, you know. It is the nightmare scenario, so I do everything that I can to avoid it. And that's especially where I was horrible and got really snappy with my best friend, because like the idea of anything being wrong, the idea of being in like trouble for anything or doing anything I'm not supposed to, stresses me out like nothing else. It absolutely horrifies me. I despise it. I hate it. I can't deal with it. Like I start to just like shut down and I become like, and I wish I became monotone, honestly. I don't. I become snappy. Everything's like slightly aggressive and I don't fucking mean to. It's not the person that I'm talking to. Just the entire situation makes me say like, fuck off. I don't want to deal with it. It's not for me. It's too much. I don't like it. And no, you know, and that obviously like comes out at the person. I need to learn to deal with that better because it's not fair. But like I said, I have apologised for it. They were fine with me. They understand, but I still feel really bad about it. And like I don't know if that's necessarily PDA so much as like if something makes you anxious, you don't want to do it, you know? It's just all a lot for me and I don't enjoy it at all, and it makes me into a bit of a bitch, to be honest with you. And there were a few points like that over the trip where I wasn't my best self and I wish I'd behaved a bit better and been a bit nicer and masked a bit more, I suppose. But I also find it really difficult to like put that mask on and be the happy smiley self when they're people that I'm comfortable with and can unmask with. Yeah, there was one day where we'd seen like a gun show and it just really like, all of the noise and like the glamorization of guns and making it into humour and the whole thing was just like, it really sent me, like I just, it was horrible in so many ways for me. Like the sensory like of all of the noise, all of it was just a lot for me, and it really like put me into like a whole like fight or flight sort of vibe. And I know that I just like was no fun that day and was kind of a bitch. Like not necessarily a bitch, but I was snappy and like slightly rude and I just wasn't nice, you know. And like I'm kind of tearing up a bit because I feel so bad about it, because that could have been a really nice fun day and I just sort of ruined it with autism. I'm not crying in a video, shut up. So like yeah, I feel really bad about that, but that is also one day out of like nearly a whole month, you know. I don't feel like that's, you know, I could have done better, but it also could have been a lot worse, and I feel like they understand and it'll be okay. I've decided that the time I only shed a tear on YouTube is the time that I should go to bed. I want to add on to that, but I'm sorry, I don't have the energy to like set up the nice angle and the back camera and the light and everything again, so I look like this. See, because I want to add that the frustrating thing here for me that I'm experiencing tonight, which is why I'm about to go to bed like a fucking sensible idiot would have like 2 hours ago. I experience this like, I very rarely have like a big meltdown, you know, like it happens probably once every like 8 months or something, you know, like it's a once a year event, but it's always at different points of the year, very fun, always a little surprise. But the thing I experience more often is these nights, or like even whole days sometimes, but mostly evenings and nights, where some like I will have been overwhelmed for like the day or the week or like the month or whatever else, and something will trigger it. Like tonight it was like my hair, like being in the same environment I'm always in, but my hair being different and having a tattoo, like it just triggered a whole thing for me. And then remembering certain things that happened during the trip have triggered a whole thing for me, and it's this like, I will have like 20 minutes of feeling like the worst I've ever felt and really, like just feeling truly terrible, and it's horrible and it's really like kind of frightening. It's not very good, it's really bad, it's a very like bad mental health thing, if you get me, like it's bad. and it's literally for 20 minutes, and then for the next like hour I'm completely fine, I'm completely dandy, might be a bit lonely, might still feel a little bit down, but I'm like, you know, I'm fine, I'm on the up, I'm recovering or whatever, like I'm doing all right. I'll have journaled or whatever, I'll have talked to friends, I'm trying to like open up to people and talk to my friends and like actually communicate things, and you know, I'm trying to actually healthily cope with my emotions, and I'll do the thing and I'll feel better for an hour. And then I have another 20 minutes where like the entire world is fucking ending for me and I can't deal with anything. And like I say, it's a little bit scary, it's a little bit frightening, it's really not good. And then I'm fine again. And it's so frustrating, and I feel like a fucking wrecking ball going in and out of my friends, you know? Like it just... And that's part of why I struggle to talk to people about that kind of thing, because I talk to them and I'm like, yeah, I feel much better now, thank you. I'm gonna just like watch a bit of my comfort show, I'm gonna journal a little bit, I'm gonna draw something, you know, I'm gonna watch some TikTok, I'm gonna do whatever, and everything's fine. And then I do it again and I'm like straight back to it over another little tiny thing that just leads back to the bigger thing that we were already talking about, where I've already been made to feel better, and I feel the most like just frustrating person alive, and I frustrate myself and I hate it, and it just feels so terrible, you know? It's really horrible to experience it, and that's why I should have really just gone to bed. But I have this whole thing where crying alone in bed, I just hate it. I feel like, I don't think it's a pathetic thing to do. I think, well, you know, I fully empathise when people do it. I'm sympathetic, I empathise, whatever the right term is there. You know, like I'm like, oh, I get it, we've all been there. But I feel so pathetic when I do it. I'm like, what, bitch, you think you're in a fucking movie, do you? Like, come on now, like, stop faking it. And it's like, I feel awful, I'm crying because I feel terrible, and my inner voice, or like inner thoughts or whatever, like, you're faking it though, aren't you? And it's like, no, I'm actually fucking not though. So that's a whole thing that I don't feel like I've seen other people talk about, but it happens to me after most like good things in my life, because most good things are something that's kind of overwhelming. It happens to me like probably a couple of times a month. It's quite a regular thing and I hate it. Man, I fucking despise it. But anyway, yeah, that's that. So on to the outro. So you can't see anything, but another update is that about 40 minutes ago I sent my best friend a voice message of me just crying because I feel really bad about the times I snapped at them on the trip, and apologising again, even though I know that I've apologised and they understand, blah 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 blah. And now I'm finally at like fucking 2:15 about to get into bed after having like 4 mini meltdowns, and I feel so good. This is what I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm laying in bed, I've got Otis snuggled up next to me, purring his little face up, and I love him. I'm about to fuss him a little bit more before I go to sleep. I was literally about to doze off, but I wanted to do this little update because like that's the thing, I've got my little Hobbit audiobook on, and I was literally laying here holding my cat, smiling, thinking about like going to the Grand Canyon and going to Universal and going to Warner Bros and all like the really cool memories I have from this trip and all the really good times I had with my friend. And like, I literally feel so good about it. It was such a good trip, I feel great. I'm going to bed happy and going to sleep with a little smile on my face, and like, I was sobbing like 40 minutes ago. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, actually onto the outro, God. So, I post here usually on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays. I have missed some and I might miss some again. I think my schedule got messed up because of the American time, but I'm trying my best. We'll get back to it, it'll be okay. So if you liked this video or want to see more or whatever else, you can like and subscribe to me. I am going to be posting some actual fun travel vlogs that are nice and show the good times, so do stick around for that. I'm going to get back to posting on TikTok more frequently, and there's going to be lots of pictures up on my Instagram. There's going to be so many pictures up on Instagram, it's going to be a whole thing, so do follow me there. I feel like there's somewhere else I'm supposed to say, but I don't think I actually do check or post anywhere else. So you can also follow me on Patreon if you want to see my videos at least a day or so early. Sometimes it's a couple of hours at the minute, but usually it's at least a day early. And you can also go and look at me over on Ko if you'd like to donate a coffee or more to me. It's always helpful, especially because I spent every penny of savings I've ever had on this trip, and if my cats need a vet, I'm a bit fucked, but I'd figure it out, it'll be fine. You don't have to donate, there is no pressure. I'm a full-grown adult that can deal with my own financial stability, you know? So, whoever you are and wherever you are, if you have another... Whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.